Voyage.
This is John Quintrell. The following is based on my life, my true story. The parts of this story you would hope are fake are the parts that are real.
I retrieved Len's duffel bag and pulled out a bunch of letters tied together with a bootlace. The letter on top was from his fiancée, Sherry. I had made up my mind that I would write her a letter and explain what happened. I couldn't bring myself to open any of the letters she had written to Len. I was only looking for Sherry's mailing address. I already knew what was in the letters anyway. She had written him almost every day, telling him how much she loved him and how excited she was to be his wife. She talked about having a family and all the other things young couples dream about. I was absolutely sick to my stomach about what happened. Len was just too good a man to have been in Vietnam. He had served God his whole life, and now he was rubbed out in the blink of an eye. No marriage, no kids, no job to support his family, and especially no chance to reach his full potential in life. By the way, God, where were you when Len got blown up? I thought you were supposed to protect your faithful. Hell, the truth of the matter is that you weren't there when it happened. I'm not sure you even exist. It would make more sense if I were killed instead of Len. He had everything to offer you, and I have nothing. I put pen to paper. The letter came out like this. Dear Sherry, you don't know me, but I am Len's squad leader, and I'm writing to tell you about a great loss that occurred today. On a routine patrol of a presumed friendly village, Len was shot in the head by a Vietnamese sniper, causing his immediate death. I can assure you, Len felt no pain at all and did not suffer. We called in a medevac helicopter and Len was flown back to Cu Chi. I want to assure you, he spoke of you warmly on a daily basis. The idea of returning to you was the most important thing in the world to Len. He died with a heart full of love for you. I wanted to write to you and tell you what happened because the telegram the Army sends will give no background information. There are no words that I can say or think of that will lessen your grief and loss. Len had told me many times about your plans when he returned for him to marry you. I'm just sick in my heart that you and Len will never realize your dreams. I know Len was a very religious man, and I have to believe God took him to heaven. Please extend my sincere condolences to Len's family from me and all the guys that served with and respected Len. Know in your heart, Sherry, that Len loved you more than anything else on earth. With abiding respect and affection, John Quintrell. P.S. Please forgive the shaky writing. It seems like I can't get my hands to work right. I folded the letter and put it in an envelope and addressed it to Sherry in Illinois. I sent it the next day and never heard back from her. There wasn't a day from that point on that I didn't think of Len and Sherry. It's not good for a combat soldier to overthink things after the battle. The less you dwell on things, the better off you are. A man's mind has its limits, but mine still had room to hate the VC that had shot this sweet man. Even though I knew if the situation were reversed, I'd likely have done the same. All I could do now was put one foot in front of the other, go to our next mission briefing, and find out what fresh hell awaited me.
All right, you maggots, we're moving.
We gathered for Ritter's daily briefing, an event that never ceased to make me feel ill.
We're going to a new forward operating base, Diamond. Tip of the spear, motherfuckers. We'll be traveling across the Vam Kadong River. Prepare to get wet. I know getting wet is unfamiliar to you dickless faggots. It involves water. We'll be dropped by helicopter 100 yards from the river, and we'll raft across. Moving out in 30. Dismissed.
The guys and I waited until everyone was dispersing and spoke in hushed tones. We see action, that's our time. Fog of war.
Dirty bastard. Can't say he doesn't have it coming.
It must be done precisely. Precisely.
Like anyone's gonna say anything. They'll miss him like missing the bubonic plague.
Don't be so sure. People will talk. Even if it's just to make sure they won't take any heat for it.
It'll have to be ambiguous. Bullets flying both ways, who's to say whose shot hit who? That's the only way.
Cola! Soda pop! USA!
Tong had picked a hell of a time to come visit. His shouting sales pitch almost made me draw my weapon.
I go! Refreshing! Sweet!
The kid had a script and he would never variate from it.
Taste good! USA!
Tong! You got any root beer today?
Sure.
This is cola, pal.
Sure.
Kids rope-a-doping me.
No rope a dope. Root beer.
I know root beer, and this ain't root beer.
No refund.
I can't get mad at him.
It was hard to tell how much Tong understood. I was starting to guess he understood a lot more than he let on.
Hey, you guys sure this shit ain't poison or something, right?
Mac was a new guy. I did my best to try and dislike him because I figured he'd probably be dead soon.
Give me two, kid.
Where you in from, new guy?
Everywhere. I was born in Fort Pearson, though.
Pops in the service?
World War II, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. I'm 8th generation Army.
How long you been in country?
This is my second tour.
Unlike Len, Mac knew what he was doing. I dared hope that might allow him to survive. As Ritter had laid out, we were dropped 100 yards from the river. Another helicopter dropped an inflatable raft. Doc pulled a cord that operated a CO2 cylinder that immediately inflated the raft.
Some river.
Ritter walked into the river.
We can hand over hand this. Just need a line. Big Sally, make yourself useful for something other than eating ham sandwiches.
I prefer pastrami, sir.
Big Sally loaded a grappling hook round into his M79. It would shoot a grappling hood attached to a thin cord. Big Sally shot the hook 50 feet across the river into a stand of bamboo, and it hung up.
Rich, get your skinny ass over there.
The line allowed Rich to pull himself across the river, with a rope and a post tied around his waist. When he reached the other side, he climbed out of the water and pulled himself up onto the steep bank. He tied the rope to the bamboo stand and pulled the rope taut. Rich dug the post into the ground, pushing it down further with his foot, and secured the rope to it. Rich came back using the hand-over-hand technique we were taught in basic training.
Pretty good current in there. Not much of a riverbank on the other side.
You could do it. Everyone else can too. Mac, except you. Take the radio in the raft and pull yourself across.
Mac pulled a photo out of his pants pocket and tried to tuck it into his upper shirt pocket.
Whoa, time out!
Everyone gathered to look at the photo, even Ritter.
God damn!
Shit, Mac.
Take it easy. She's a colonel's daughter, and she's my wife.
It was a glossy picture of a woman in a parlor pose, wearing an almost see-through nightie.
How did an ugly son of a bitch like you pull that off?
Ritter was rude, but he wasn't wrong. Mac was not a handsome man. He looked like a bulldog. His wife was a blonde bombshell.
Seriously, how?
Mac grabbed his crotch and smiled.
Some guys got it, some guys don't.
All right, enough. We can all jerk off to Mac's wife later. Let's get moving.
Just beyond the bank was a hedgerow of bamboo. All of us, except for Mac and the raft, crossed first and emerged onto the opposing riverbank. Just as Mac was halfway across the river in the raft, there were VC in the hedgerow and they opened up on us. Bullets were going everywhere, including between our legs. There was no time to react, so I jumped backward into the river with my M16 blasting on full auto. The last 3 shells in my magazine were shot underwater. It was a miracle no one was killed in the first 30 seconds. My guys clung to the bank and held their rifles above the bank's edge and opened up on the hedgerow. I was changing clips out when I saw a strafe of AK bullets zip across the river and hit the rubber raft. Within an instant, I saw Mac roll out of the sinking raft and go straight down. I had no idea if he was hit or not. I did know with the weight of the radio on his back, he would sink to the bottom and drown. Without hesitation, I pulled myself up on the bank and ran down in front of the hedgerow. I suddenly realized I was running across the VC kill zone. When I reached Rich, I dove off the bank over his head and swam down to where I thought Mac went down. The water was murky and the visibility was next to nothing. I couldn't find him. Damn it. I just couldn't stomach this happening again, but I was going to die if I didn't go up for air.
Anything?
Not yet.
John, you keep going. We're gonna be pulling you out of there next.
I can find him. As I swam along the bottom, I kept reaching out in front of me, hoping I would run into my beleaguered comrade. I knew Mac had been down 2, maybe 3 minutes, and if I didn't find him, he would be screwed. But I couldn't hold my breath forever. That was it. I was just about to go up for air when my hand ran into the rucksack attached to Mac's back, and he was still in it. He was sitting on the bottom of the river, trying to hold his breath. I planted my feet on the river bottom and jerked him up and pushed him towards the surface. As luck would have it, he came out of the water under the rope. In a desperate grab, while sucking for air, Matt grabbed the rope. I surfaced right next to him and pushed him to the shore.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
The name's John. You're welcome.
If you ever get out of here, drinks on me, John. Thank you.
I turned around and pulled myself back to where my squad was shooting the hell out of the hedgerow. We were too close to the VC to call in any kind of support. The VC had us dead to rights, and there wasn't anything we could do about it. Hand grenades were out of the question because when they hit the hedgerow to our front, they would bounce back into our laps. Big Sally was using his M79 like a mortar tube, lobbing high-explosive rounds over the hedgerow. There was no margin for error, otherwise the round could fall back in his lap. When I got back to my gear lying on the bank, I thought our gooses were completely cooked.
The time is at hand, John.
What?
Jules Verne said, solitude, isolation are painful things and beyond human endurance.
Merlin, what the hell are you—
What we talked about.
I realized Merlin was referring to killing Ritter. More frighteningly, I realized he was right. We'd never get a better opportunity. Not to kill him directly, to let the VC have him. We tapped on the shoulders of Big Sally and Rich and drifted backwards. Not a formal retreat, but enough of one to make Ritter more of a target. I saw Ritter stand up and drape several rounds of M60 ammo over his shoulder and pick up an M60 machine gun from a dead soldier's body and walk down the riverbank to our left. The VC were trying to hit him and their rounds were landing around his feet. There was a small mound of dirt about 3 feet high that he laid his gun on. He clipped together a couple of the belts of the 60 ammo and loaded up his smoke wagon and prepared to go to work. He started shooting across the river to the left of our position. I will never forget seeing him kneeling behind his 60 with a cigarette in his mouth, shooting controlled bursts of 4 rounds, bringing hell down on the enemy. He was too good of a soldier to kill. The AK rounds hitting in front of his position did not faze him a bit. Was Ritter gutsy or crazy? I guess the jury was still out on that one. He saved our lives. His action gave us a chance to pull ourselves across the river. Once we were safely back across the river, we would have a front row seat to see the overwhelming power of the Air Force. In all the craziness, Mac's raft had actually not sunk. It had deflated, and the radio, it turned out, was actually still there, ensconced inside the plastic. Mac got it out, and we had the F-4 Phantom jets on station within 10 minutes, by which point our supporting fire had allowed Ritter to retreat to us. When they flew over us, we noticed they were carrying 500-pound bunker buster bombs. They were so low to the ground we could wave at them and see them give us a thumbs up. The VC had several men trying to shoot the Phantoms out of the sky. Tracers were above, below, in front, and in back, but never touched the plane. The planes made one dry run just across the river, then banked sharply and returned and dropped their ordnance behind the hedgerow. The explosions were deafening. The ground shook like an earthquake. Huge clods of earth were being hurled into the sky. The air assault lasted for 30 minutes. It was getting dark, and we knew we would be spending the night. The next morning, we would cross the river again and see what was on the other side of the blown-up hedgerow. In a quiet moment, once Ritter was asleep, we spoke.
Guy's like an evil Superman.
Bizarro.
But what now?
Lex Luthor tries to clone Superman, but something goes wrong, and he creates Bizarro. He's freaky looking, but he's immune to kryptonite. He's not exactly evil, but he's deranged, and so he does stuff he thinks is right that's wrong.
He's Bizarro, all right.
But see, Bizarro can't help it. He was just made wrong. He wants to do good. He's jealous of real Superman. He wants to be him. But Ritter can help it. He knows what he's doing is wrong. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Even a blind squirrel.
Tomorrow would be another day to survive.
Hey, Mac!
Yeah?
Colonel's daughter's still with us?
Wouldn't you like to know?
She is then!
If you squint.
Mac held up the photo. Water had marred it. It was soggy and ruined.
I like to keep my eyes open when I'm with a lady.
Dial it back, soldier. I'm calling the colonel.
Let's get boots a-stomping here.
There was no mention of what Ritter had done. I couldn't help but cringe inside. We plotted his murder, and he saved our lives. At the same time, I couldn't ignore everything I knew about him, everything I'd experienced him do. We walked for miles to Diamond, our new base. When we reached it, it was worse than I could have imagined.
Oh, hell.
The base was decimated. Each man at the new base had at least 2 AK-47 rifles slung across their shoulders that they had taken off dead VC. The men there looked beleaguered and disoriented. The looks on their faces were a mixture of shock and weariness. We called that look the 1,000-yard stare. None of the men were talking as they looked at a base that had been transformed into a burned-out, smoldering hellhole. When we reached the wire, or what was left of it, we had to step over dead VC bodies. Many of the bodies were torn to pieces. All of them had a pasty gray color on their faces. Some had their eyes opened, some closed. Some had no heads at all. Some of the wire had been blown apart by bamboo Bangalore torpedoes.
Where are the bunkers?
Over there.
The sergeant from the platoon said they were over there as he pointed to 3 holes in the ground.
Where is 2nd Platoon?
Over there.
The sergeant turned and pointed to 9 ponchos laying on the ground lined up in a row. There is no way to describe the sadness and brokenness in our hearts. Then came the anger and the rage that welled up in my guts. The 1st platoon sergeant told us that the VC had satchel charged the bunkers before the guys could get out of them. All the guys were blown up. In the next 10 minutes, we carried the dead to waiting helicopters that had set down just outside the wire. It was a gruesome sight. To see our guys, they might not have been my personal unit, but they were still our guys, stacked on the floor of the choppers like cordwood. Ritter assembled us back where the bunkers had been blown up.
We have to rebuild them.
Why would we do that?
Because Command has decided we're staying here tonight.
You got to be shitting us.
We are staying here tonight. And if we don't rebuild these fighting positions, we will get killed. Just like the others.
His voice was stern, but not angry for once. He knew what we were going through. We dug the ruins out of the blown-up bunkers. Big Sally stood up and held a jungle boot above his head. The bloody foot was still inside.
Isn't this the shits?
He tossed the boot out on the ground and returned to the job at hand.
Well, we could go AWOL and try to make it to Taining.
Just as likely to get killed on the way, Doc.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I don't think anyone would really care if I died. Not really. Got no lady waiting for me. My parents are old and sick. They'll probably be gone soon, too. Barely speak to my brother. Yep, it's not like there'll be a big funeral procession down the street, you know?
I'd care, Doc.
Well, there's that, I guess. Thanks, John.
At 1400 hours, a Mosquito heavy-lift helicopter dropped a D-8 dozer in front of our position along with its operator. The operator dug a long, deep trench.
Put the gooks in there.
The dead VC had been lying out in the sun all day and their bodies were bloated and starting to smell. Several guys tied a handkerchief. We took no pleasure in it. They were soldiers, just like us. We put the final sandbags on top of the reconstructed bunkers. The holes in the concertina wire had been repaired and claymore mines and trip flares had been put in place and ready to go.
Quintrell, come here.
I walked over to Ritter, away from the guys.
Intel says another attack is coming tonight.
Okay.
Nice try by the Ritter. I know it was you.
Someone is Killing the Wolfhounds is a production of Voyage Media. The series is produced by Nat Mundell, Robert Midas, Minody Vaishnav, and Dan Benamor. Executive produced by John Quintrell. Story produced by Minody Vaishnav. Written and directed by Dan Benamor. Based on the novel My 365 Days with the Wolfhounds in Vietnam, 1968 to 1969, A Combat Veteran's Journey by John Quintrell. The novel is available on Amazon. A link is in the show notes. Edited, sound designed, and mixed by Nick Misiti. Original music by Derlis Gonzalez. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you're listening, and subscribe now for future episodes.